Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Tomoya. How you doing?
Doing well, thanks. How about yourself?
Pretty good.
Let's talk about Ohtani, who's been pretty spectacular the month of June. As of the end of Wednesday, which is June 30th, June 29th, Ohtani has 17 home runs. He's batting .265 with .350 on-base percentage, .505 slugging percentage, and .855 OPS. And as a pitcher, he's pitched 74 innings, and his ERA is 2.68, with 12.3 strikeouts and 2.1 walks per 9 innings. And speaking of June, he had an 11-game hit streak. He had career-high 8 RBIs on June 21st and career-high 13 strikeouts on June 22nd. And he had his hardest hit home run of his career, which was 118.0 miles per hour on June 25th. And he's continuing his 21.2 consecutive scoreless innings. So what are your thoughts?
I think he's been great. I think, although the overall production is not really what it was last year, which is only because of the hitting, the pitching has been better. I think there's a lot of people that want to downgrade him a little bit, but what I tell everybody is that if this year were his first year as a two-way player, we would be talking about this year as the greatest baseball season ever played, because he's doing just amazing things this year. I mean, if you just say he's one of the top 15 starting pitchers and he's on pace to hit 30 homers and driving 100 runs, period. You don't have to say anything else. That is amazing. He's gotten better throughout the year. Pitching wise, he had a little bit of a struggle for a couple starts, but otherwise he's been great. And hitting wise, it's been kind of a steady improvement as the whole year has gone on. And, I think that's been the biggest change during the season.
What do you see is the biggest change in terms of his pitching, how he was able to manage to improve?
Well, I think he really just picked up where he left off last year. At the beginning of last year, he really hadn't pitched hardly at all since before he had Tommy John surgery. So I think he just needed some time to adjust to his delivery and adjust to big league hitters and just get comfortable with all of his different pitches. He was trying some different things. He was trying a cutter. And I think it just took him some time. So, in April of 2021, he was still walking a lot of guys and he wasn't pitching very deep into games. But then all that got better as the year went on. And I think that this year he just started where he ended last year. And so, his walk rate now is much lower than it was. His innings are up from where it was last year. I think he's on pace for 150 innings last year. He threw 150 innings this year. He threw 130 last year. His ERA is obviously down like half a run from where it was last year. Now, part of that is there's kind of a different environment, hitting environment in baseball this year. I think maybe the balls are a little different. So everybody's offense is a little bit down. So that's affected his offense too, and his pitching. So he's doing very well.
It's pretty common to see hitters going up and down if you look at multiple seasons. Even MVP players like Cody Bellinger, his number is so high one year and then it goes down. So what do you think is the reason behind such ups and downs? In Japan, people talk a lot about, he changed his mechanics, his swing a little bit. But do you think it's more luck, or what are your thoughts?
I think there's a lot of things. I think that hitters' mechanics change from year to year. I mean, you don't hit every single day of the year. And when you take a break in the winter, things might change a little bit. And also pitchers have the whole winter to figure things out about you, and they might approach you a little differently. You can also just have a different mindset about hitting. Last year he was in a lineup with no Mike Trout, no Anthony Rendon, and he probably had a different attitude about what he had to do in the lineup than he does now. So that can affect you. And also there's just with hitting, there's a lot of randomness involved. When you hit the ball, you can hit it really hard and they can catch it, or you can hit it not so hard and it can drop in. Even over a whole season, that can vary to how much that works in your favor. So, I think that there's going to be ups and downs. And, like we just mentioned earlier, I think the baseball is a little different this year. So I think that's part of the reason. But, an 850 OPS, I think is what he's got right now.
Right.
That's still very good. And it's going up. So, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets to, when the year's over, if he's 900. And, last year he was, I think, 963, something like that. So, given the change this year in the baseball, if he finishes at 900, that would be pretty equivalent to what he did last year.
Despite Ohtani's success, the Angels are struggling. Their record's 37-41 as of the end of Wednesday, and their chances of making the playoffs is about 16% according to Fangraphs. What happened after a great start to the season?
Well, a lot of things went wrong. They had some guys get injured. Taylor Ward, who was the great catalyst at the top of their lineup, he was out for a little while. Anthony Rendon then got injured. Mike Trout went into a slump, which, like, he was the worst slump of his career. He went 0 for 26. They had a couple relievers who'd been pitching very well at the beginning of the year. Raisel Iglesias and Ryan Tepera and Aaron Loop. All those guys were great in April. And then really they had a bad stretch where all of them were pitching poorly. That hurts. They also ran into some really good teams and some teams that were playing very well. And that didn't help them either. You look at like the Toronto Blue Jays, who started their whole bad stretch. They then played very well after they were done playing the Angels. The Mets obviously are a very good team. The Yankees are a very good team. The Dodgers are a very good team. The Phillies, who, at the time the Angels played them, were not very good. They had a worse record than the Angels, and they fired their manager. Since they played the Angels, they actually have been one of the better teams in the month of June. So it could have been just bad timing for the Angels that this team that was just about to get hot, that they ran into them at that time. And then it was also kind of a weird stretch of bad luck for the Angels, where they had a really high concentration of, at the exact wrong time, a blue pit would fall in. So, it's the 8th inning of a tie game and there's 2 outs and a runner at second, and a guy hits a broken bat and it drops for a hit and the run scores and they lose the game. That kind of thing happened to them for 3 weeks. So it was a combination of everything basically going wrong. I don't think they were as good a team as they were at the beginning of the season when they were 24-13. That's a pace for like 105 wins. I don't think anybody thought they were going to win 105 games. But then, the stretch they had right after that, which I think they were like 5-30 or something like that. Obviously, they're not that bad either. Since then, they've been more, 500-ish team. I think that's really what they should end up. They still, I think, could very well end up with like 85 wins, which is where we thought they were going to be at the beginning of the year. I don't know if that's going to be good enough for the playoffs. Probably not. They're going to need to do better than that. But if they do play better, it would certainly give them a chance.
Here's a big question. There's a rumor, especially in Japan, that the Angels might trade Ohtani. What are the chances that would happen this season?
During the season, I think there's 0% chance that happens. A trade of Ohtani is a very complicated thing because the Angels really have to be sure what they're getting back. And they also have to be pretty sure that Ohtani doesn't want to stay. And I just don't think that either of those things can happen during the season. I think that the Angels really need to have some serious discussions with Ohtani about a long-term contract, which are not going to happen during the season. And then only when they get through that is there a possibility that they could decide that they trade him. I still don't think that's going to happen either. I personally believe that Ohtani is going to play with the Angels through the end of the 2023 season at least. And if he's going to leave as a free agent, it's just going to be leaving as a free agent. I don't think the Angels are going to trade him. I just think there's too much risk to doing that. You don't know that you're going to make yourself a better team by trading him because you don't know who you're going to get back. You don't know how good those players are. And, just the extra money that you have to spend that you're not going to give to him. Obviously, spending money is not a very sure way to get good players because the players that cost the most money are the oldest players and they're very risky. So I don't think there's any way you can say, oh, if they get rid of Ohtani, they're guaranteed to win. That's definitely not the case. So they might as well just keep him. And, he's good for sales, honestly. And he's a very good baseball player. And it's hard to imagine being better without him.
So even next season, you don't think the Angels would trade him?
I think it's possible, but it's still not very likely. I think that when the season is over, they'll have serious talks with him about a contract. And at that point, they'll decide what they want to do.
What are the benefits for the Angels to make such a trade?
Well, I don't think there is enough benefit to doing it. But, the argument for it is if he's just going to leave as a free agent at the end of the 23 season, you're not going to get anything back for him. So if you trade him before that, then you will get something back. The other benefit is that you're going to get back a lot of young players, and those young players are cheap. So then you have a chance to, have a core of good players that don't cost very much money, which gives you more money to get the big star players around them to supplement that. But that's really hard to do because especially, Ohtani at the point that they're talking about would only have 1 year left with the other team. So you're not going to get a ton of good young players, even for Ohtani, because it's only for 1 year. And you'd have to be pretty sure that each of those guys was going to be really good, and you just can't be. So, I mean, that's why it's just hard to imagine that the Angels would do it.
So there's no chance of Angels going into a rebuilding mode, I guess, because of Trout?
Yeah, I mean, well, that's a whole separate thing. Is they would basically have to trade Mike Trout too if they're going to rebuild, and that's has its own issues. One of them is Mike Trout can veto any trade, so you have to find a place that he wants to go. So that would eliminate some teams. He's certainly not going to want to go to a bad team, the Marlins or something. And then that team has also got to be able to afford him. He makes $36 million a year for the next 8 years, I think. So that is going to eliminate some teams. And then that team has also got to have enough good young players to make it worth it for the Angels to be better after trading him. So meeting all three of those requirements is not easy to do. So that's why I just don't think it's going to happen. And so then as long as they still have Mike Trout, they can't really just do a rebuild because, you've got the best player in the world. So you can't just put a terrible team around him.
Hey, viewers, let me know whether the Angels trading Ohtani makes any sense and why. Please write in the comment section below. We'd love to know what you think. Some followers are pointing out that Trout tends to get days off on the days Ohtani pitches. Is there any truth to that, and why?
It has happened a couple times, but it's just a coincidence. They tend to give him the days off on the day before an off day because they want him to have 2 days in a row off at the price of only missing one game, because he feels that refreshes his body quite a lot to have 2 straight days where he doesn't play. Yes, that has happened when Ohtani's pitched a couple times, but it is certainly not any kind of a planned thing or conspiracy to have Mike Trout not play when Ohtani plays. It's just the way the schedule has worked.
Also, we have an announcement. Jeff's book, Sho-Time, The Inside Story of Shohei Ohtani and the Greatest Baseball Season Ever Played, will become available on July 12th. The Japanese version will also be released the same day. You can order copies at Amazon and other major bookstores now, both in the US and Japan. I'll put the links in the description below, so please check them out. Hey, Jeff, do you have anything to say about your new book?
I'm very excited about it. I'm especially excited to see the Japanese version. I had seen the American version for several months, and I'd been kind of waiting to see what it looked like in Japanese. And I know there's probably more people in Japan that want to read the book than in the United States. So I'm very excited to have it finally available to where people can order it and see what the cover looks like and everything. So it's going to be a big day.
Well, I saw that your Japanese version, I think, was once within the top 25 of all the books in Japan on Amazon, I think. So I think it's already selling pretty well. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, Jeff, thank you for your time.
All right. Thanks, Tomoya.
日本の皆さん、ここで話しているようなアメリカ流野球観をもっと知りたいという方はですね、ぜひ僕が書いたルポ大谷翔平を読んでいただけると嬉しいです。すでに購入された方は本当にありがとうございます。まだご購入されてない方はですね、ぜひこの機会にお買い求めください。